Throughout your life, you're going to have the capacity and the need to finance a lot of things. Those things that you finance are going to all cost you either your money or interest. But all of it is financing, and all of it is going to affect your future. But during that financing, if you became your own bank, you would control that interest that's going out today, and you would bring that back in. You'd recapture that interest. And you would take care of all your personal financing, your business financing, and you'd leak no money, and that would be a huge win. But after that, you would evolve, you would want to create, and with that creation, you would become the banker. You would be the one lending money to other people for their real estate deals, other people maybe for their cars. You would do what a bank does, just like a bank. Let me show you how this works, because your capacity for financing in your lifetime is one of the greatest things that will ever happen to your money. You might as well control it. Come on. Welcome back, everybody. Another wealth webinar. Today we're going to go into being your own bank, but we're going to go from being the bank to being the bank for someone else. We're going to talk about the evolution, the creation that will come from the infinite banking concepts, which is pioneered by the late R. Nelson Nash in becoming your own banker. But I want to open up by just talking a little bit about when I first saw the infinite banking concepts. Okay, it was back around 2014, give or take a couple months here or there. And I heard about it because I was borrowing money from a very wealthy real estate developer. And at that table we were at, I had asked him, I said, how do you lend money? And he said, from my private banking, which is where he explained it. But he only could go so far because he only had experience of how he himself used the infinite banking concept. He wasn't the teacher, he was just the user. So he explained how he used this for private lending, how he used it in real estate. But he explained more about why he used his own private banking system. But then he referred me to watch it, or to talk to another gentleman, Brent, and to watch a 90-minute video, to which I did. And when I saw what this was, now bear in mind, I was a financial advisor back in those days, so I was the Wall Street guy. When I saw what this was, I knew it right away. I'm all in. I had problems, and those problems needed to be solved, but I understood one simple thing: controlling your money and controlling the financial aspects of your money. In other words, taking back the control of the banking functions in your life, which means not paying interest to everybody else, but paying it just to yourself. The easiest way to articulate that and think about that is look at everything you do. If many of you are business owners, I'm sure. Okay, many of you have W-2 jobs, many of you are self-employed, and many of you just have multiple businesses, or maybe you're just independently wealthy. But just think about that. Like, when you go through your month, how many checks do you write to someone else's bank? How many debt checks, credit card checks, car payment checks do you write to somebody else's bank? Now, just imagine if you wrote all of those checks in the next 3 or 5 years, if every one of those checks was written back to you, how much more money would you have in your family? That's you becoming your own bank. That's you taking back the banking functions in your life. That's you taking back control of your money by you becoming your own bank. And that's what I did. I first used my policies, and we're going to get into this a little bit. I've got some of my policies right here, which is kind of funny. Like this, before the vault, this was how I tracked all of my policies. They all went into this binder here, and I tracked them. And literally, like every month, I would look at the policies and I would write down, like I don't know if you could see that, but I would like write down all of the returns and the growth, because at that point I was just fascinated with what it did and how it worked, and I was fascinated with how much it grew every single year. And I'll show you how we do it today. But today we just use technology called the Vault software. But I used it for paying off debt. That was the very first thing I did. Quarterly, I would take loans from my banking system, pay down my debts, take the money I saved that I don't owe them debts, their bank, okay, like credit cards, lines of credit. If I was paying them that check, I would then pay that same amount back to my banking system. It was literally just displacing money. It was simple. This is the thing. So many people complicate this, and I'll never understand this. You're like, well, I don't really understand it. I don't really get it, blah, blah, blah. They overcomplicate it. It's literally taking money from this pocket, moving it around a process, and putting it back in this pocket. Both pockets are yours. Do you understand that? Like, I have 2 front pockets and 2 back pockets. Now, does my money change? Is anything different about my money if I move it from my left to my right pocket? Nope. Just means I got to pull it out with my left hand. Does it change anything if I put it in my back pocket or my front pocket? No, it's all my pockets. They're my pants. I paid for these pants. Same idea. It's your banking system. And throughout that, I use the banking system to pay off debt, recapturing that interest that I paid. And once I got past that or got through that, I started using it for other things. Namely, Shauna will tell the story better than I ever could, to cover payroll. Because Shauna got nervous when she looked at the bank account and there wasn't enough to clear her paycheck. That's not a good predicament for a business owner to be in, but I've been there. How many of you have been there? How many of you on here are business owners? I'm sure there's more of you. How many of you are working toward following your dream or chasing your dream to become your own business owner? Say, I am. Greg Nagy said, I am. How many of you are looking to become your own, to be your own business and to start your own business, to be an entrepreneur? I am. So there we go. We got a whole bunch of you. So we got a bunch of you that are business owners. We got a bunch of you that want to be business owners, and the rest of you are just probably high income earners or different, segments. But the whole idea is, no matter where you're at, there's always a use for finance, because throughout our lives, we're doing one of 2 things. We're either spending money or we're saving money. Repeat that with me. We're either spending money or we're saving money. We're doing 2 things, but they're independent of one another. At least that's what we're at now, some of you. But what if they could both be the same thing? What if you could spend and save and earn on both dollars at the same time? When I mean spend, when you're paying for a car, or you're paying for a copy machine for your business, or you're paying for a marketing campaign in your business, what if you were saving and building wealth at the same time? What if both of them were the same? You save and spend at the same time. You earn while you're spending. I know that might seem a bit foo-foo, and some of the other folks out there might be like, oh, that's not the truth. Well, actually it is, because that's what uninterrupted compounding interest does. No matter what, if you change one thing, and we'll get into this, but if you change one thing like I did, and you add one step in your financial life, all of the money that you changed to where it went first continues to earn for you uninterrupted till the day you die. End of story. No ifs, ands, or buts. It is guaranteed to have more money next year than it has this year, and that will continue every single year for the rest of your life. Regardless, I want to be clear about this, regardless of whether or not you take that money out to buy a car, take that money out to buy a copy machine, take that money out to buy a rental property, your money never stops earning. Like, I can't stress that enough, because that was the part when I first saw this, when I first heard about this, that I said, no way. I said, that seems too good to be true. Like many of you, I know Tess says that all the time. When she first saw it, she said, that seems too good to be true. And Sunshine, I love it. She says, me please, me please. Well, you don't have to ask please. You don't have to say please. You just have to do. And that's the difference, right? You're going to get a bunch of knowledge today. We've been doing this webinar for 7 straight years. I think we're approaching 8 years. Never missed a Wednesday. And it's great knowledge. It's great education. It's great training. Teaches you so much. But none of that matters. Do you all understand this? Okay? Do you understand this? None of this knowledge and education you're going to get in the next hour, in a couple minutes, matters. Unless you apply that knowledge in your life. Unless you apply what you learn, or at least some of what you learn, to start solving problems that you have. And listen, everyone, even the billionaires I know one billionaire. Let me kind of take that out. The billionaire I know, they still have money problems. Very different money problems than we have. Okay, but they still have money problems. Every single person you ever come across has a money problem. And I don't know, it could be that's your money problem. You're living paycheck to paycheck. You can't seem to make more money. And that's a big problem. Let me pause on that one. I can't seem to make enough money. And that is very common right now. With inflation where it is, with gas prices where they are, just with the cost of everything since COVID. And maybe it was so before COVID, but like that was the turning point. Like when I look back and I think, okay, where did we go off the tracks? Like where did this go wrong? I feel like we made a left turn instead of a right turn in this journey here. And it really was during COVID, right? 2021. They printed a lot of money. And they shut the country down. And when it opened back up, we had freedom to go out there and do things, but we had money too, because during that period of lockdown, we paid down debt. We saved money. It was an amazing thing. Three basic things that I remember vividly, and I want you to remember this too, because it's literally like yesterday. Number one, do you remember hearing the news during that period of COVID when we were in lockdown, how nature started to fix itself rapidly? Wasn't that miraculous? Like nature started literally repairing itself, fixing itself. Air got cleaner, like water got cleaner. Like it was crazy how that happened. But there was another thing that happened that was crazy too. People, because they couldn't go out and do the things they normally do, they were kind of in lockdown, especially here in New York and California. How many of you are from California? Put CA in there, or NA. So like think about that. During that period of time, we couldn't spend money. So what did we do? We focused on paying off our debt. We got real serious about budgets. I remember teaching all this stuff. And miraculously, as a country, as a world, mostly in the US, we watched our debts. You watched your debts be paid down rapidly because you were focused on it. Your attention was on that. And then not only at that same time, you started saving money because we got checks from the government. You know, businesses got PPL loans, EDIL loans, and we started saving money. So savings rates skyrocketed. Three things. Nature started fixing itself rapidly. We started fixing our debt problem by paying it down. And we started saving money. Those three things happened at the same time. We applied things that we had already known. So knowledge is nothing without application of knowledge and without leaping. So we don't need to say, please, we just need to do. That is a big mental shift. But again, let me get back to this story. So I was paying for copy machines in my business, marketing campaigns, debt, cars. I always have used my own private banking system to pay down cars, not just to pay down cars, but to buy out car loans. I've even done this for my rentals that I have. Rentals that I had mortgages on, I paid their mortgage off. I paid the mortgage off, and then I started paying myself those mortgage payments, dollar for dollar. If I paid Alden State Bank $500, I then paid myself $500. Same thing, simple. On the same memorization schedule. I didn't even make it complicated. But listen, everything I just said there, that was me being my own bank, right? That was me being my own bank for my living expenses, for my business expenses. But I really wasn't being the bank. But listen, that was a huge win. Would you not agree, folks? Was that a huge win? If you could just pay yourself every check that you pay for your debts, your car payments, your tractor payments, your furniture payments, whatever, your credit card payments, and you paid all those to yourself, would that not be a win? Put I in the chat if that would be a win. Huge win. And it was. But then at that very moment, I realized that I could do more because I learned how to recapture. I basically started saying affirmations. Affirmations matter, folks, because whether you believe it or you don't, doesn't matter. That is what it's going to be. So if you believe you can be successful, if you believe you can be the bank, if you believe you can be wealthy, well, then you can. I had a big argument with somebody about this. Like they were like, oh, I'll never be successful. I'm like, well, then you won't. Well, why would you say that? Like they got defensive, right? Well, why would you say that? Well, because you just said you're never going to be successful. So therefore, your thoughts are real. You will not be successful with that attitude, with that mindset. They got pissed off at me. How many of you have family members like that, right? You're just trying to tell them how it is. You're just sort of agreeing with them. You're never going to be successful. Great. You're never going to be wealthy. Oh, okay. You're not. And then they get pissed off and you're like, why are you getting mad at me? You just said that. Well, why are you saying I'm never going to be wealthy? Because you don't believe you can be. Because you're not willing to go out there and do the things that are necessary to be successful. Let me pause that for a second, because isn't that the truth? I know I'm getting a little bit into the mindset woo-woo stuff, and we are going to get into the tactical stuff with infinite banking, but like think about that, right? Listen, you can believe whatever you want, but there are a lot of illnesses that we as humans, clearly robots don't get these, but we as humans come down with. I mean, diabetes is pretty rampant. Weight, gaining weight and, being heavy, that's another big one. Cancer is a big one. Heart disease is another really big one. Like all these things, right? Like you know somebody who has had one of those four things I just said. But what if, and I'm not going to say, and I want to be clear and transparent. I'm not saying this is going to work for everybody, but I just want you to think about this one thing. What if you could cure your cancer? What if by changing one thing or adding one step in your life, you could get rid of your diabetes, even though your doctor said you're going to have to live with it the rest of your life? What if you could lose weight even after you've tried every diet there is under the sun? And what if all those things could be done, but what you had to do was hard? What you had to do was painful. What you had to do was not going to be pleasant. Would you still do it? Your doctor said you can't be cured. You're going to have to live with diabetes. You're going to have to, change your diet for the rest of your life. Take this pill for the rest of your life. But you read that people have changed one thing and then they no longer had to take that pill, watch what they eat. Their diabetes was gone. And in a very short period of time, would you go through the suffering, the pain, and everything required to never have to deal with that element again? And I'm even including cancer in there. What if that thing that you had to change was you had to fast once a month for 3 straight days? Oh, see, I can't do that, Chris. I can't. I'm diabetic. I would die because my body needs sugar, or needs this or needs that. But hold on. What if you did that under your doctor's supervision? It's going to suck. Man, that second day, you're starving. You're miserable. By the end of the second day, you want to rip someone's face off. By the third day, things start getting easier. And then after that, it's bliss. You think clearly. Everything's good. And like you literally could continue on beyond the third day without any issues. And knowing that your body is completely curing itself and healing itself and doing a complete cellular regeneration. I'm not going to get into all that stuff because I'm not here to teach you about fasting, but I'm just saying, most people know that absolutely works because it's happened for thousands of people. There's case studies and science and everything to prove that point. But yet so few people will go through that struggle. Listen, I'm not saying you got to go through struggle or pain or anything else to become your own bank, but it does involve you changing how you do things. It involves you changing things that will be faced probably with some people in your life telling you that that's stupid. Why would you do that? It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. Would you be strong enough to go through that if on the other side of that difficulty, that change, was financial freedom? You see, there's no difference between the two, except for your attitude around them. So when we talk about this, I talk about affirmations, and we talk about recycling and recapturing. These are affirmations. If you say, I'm just going to recycle and recapture all the money I paid to everybody else. And if you put the steps in place, which involves one change and then one step, you would indeed have that financial freedom that you desire. And when you get to that level of financial freedom that maybe today is so vital, for many of you, it's paying off debt, so vital. For some of you, it's just getting all the money back for the cars you're going to buy in the future, so vital. But when you get there and all that stuff is done, here's what happens. You need the next thing. It's kind of like you need that next dopamine hit. What's next? What's next? What's next? And that's what happened to me. I'm like, what's next? I took care of all my personal financing. I took care of everything with me. Now what's next? And that's where we're going to get into private money club and private lending and being the bank, but not being the bank for me or my personal finances or my need in my lifetime. I then started thinking, what else? How could I solve other people's problems? How could I be the bank for other people? How could I then capitalize on that? And I hate to use that word capitalize, but that's effectively what it is. How could I be the bank for everyone else? And this is when you start to expand your thinking. When I didn't have money, here's what I did. And I want to preface this. And I know some of you are like, well, Chris, I have money. Many of you are like, Chris, I got plenty of money. I just need to know what to do, man. Like all this woo-woo mindset stuff. I got money, man. I don't need to pay off debt. Because every time we do this webinar, people are like, oh, I don't have debt. This doesn't apply to me. Okay, great. But here's the thing. Everybody starts somewhere. So I got to kind of take it from A to Z. And we're going to get to Z today. But the one thing, when I didn't have money, here's what I did differently. I didn't read the boohoo books. I didn't read the books about other people that didn't have money. I read the books like Warren Buffett's books. I read the books about people who had money. I watched podcasts of people that were doing amazing things. And I read about things I could not apply in my life at that very moment because I just wasn't at that place financially. But I still read about them. I still listened to the podcast. I still went to the trainings. Me and my wife back then, because that was when live events were really hopping. Not that they're not now. We just had well over 100 people in Atlanta for Money Tank. But I'm just saying back then, that was like how you learned. Me and her were going to event after event. We'd literally scour, I don't know if it was the internet back then, but we'd scour something, meet up, and looking for events that taught what we wanted to learn. We went to them. Like, I couldn't apply these things. Tax strategy, I couldn't apply these. Trust, I couldn't apply those. I wasn't ready, but I wanted to know about them because as I thought about those things, it became very clear that I was going to get there. So when I got there, I would have more knowledge about it. It just made perfect sense. That's that bridge, right? That's where you bridge it. I wasn't there yet, but I knew I didn't want to stay where I was. And if you don't want to stay where you're at, you have to elevate your thinking. You have to elevate your actions. You have to act as if you're doing what you want to be doing in the future. If you want to start a business, well, then stop saying you want to. Stop telling people, oh, someday I'm going to own a business. Start today. Do your business plan. Oh, I'm not ready to do that right now. Great. That's exactly why you started today. You write the business plan because when you're writing the business plan, you get clarity. You start becoming, you start doing as if you are at that place. If you're in debt and you want to be out of debt, start acting as if you're out of debt. These are not like foo-foo things. And you know why I know that? Because I did them. I did all these things. I went up against the people that said I was crazy. And there was a lot of them. Holy crap. I was a financial advisor. Imagine going to your other buddies who are financial advisors and telling them about this privatized infinite banking thing. Like they just think you're absolutely batshit crazy. Especially back then. They just thought I was crazy. But it all comes down to creation. There are only two paths in life. There's conformity and there's creation. Pick a side. Because most people pick conformity because it's easy. It's easy. You don't really have to think. You just conform. You just do as if everybody tells you what to do. You just follow the leader. You don't have to think. But then there's the creation side. Oh man, that creation side, that involves thinking. It involves doing hard things. It involves pain. It involves suffering sometimes and almost failing and failing. It involves all these things, which is why there's only 5% of the population that actually create. But you know who the creators are? I don't need to tell you. Every successful person you've ever come across, every successful person you follow on social media, every successful person that you've ever seen on TV, in any book, or in any magazine. They create because they had to create the life where they're at in their mind. You have to do the same thing. So there's a shift. There's a shift that has to happen, a transition from conforming to creating, a transition from where you're at today to where you want to be. You need to create that, and you need to create it now. You need to get in a really big hurry. Let me tell you, you need to get in a really big hurry. And it's not just because I need you to get in a hurry. It's because there's, some things happen. And if you follow the news and you see what's going on, you probably want to get in a hurry on this. That shift will happen within your banking system as well. You will go from, just like I did, that person who's paying off debt. You will then be out of debt. And then you will start financing things like cars. Your next car, you'll buy it with your policy instead of their bank loan. You just will. You'll start thinking about things differently. You will absolutely, like the other day, me and my wife went and looked at a 2-unit property. We decided to pass because the numbers didn't work, but we went looking at it. While we're looking at it, in our minds, we're looking at, here's the purchase price of it. We ran some calculations for mortgages on it because why not look at a 30-year or 25-year mortgage? We saw what the monthly payment was. And I saw how much went to interest. And I'm like, well, we could just take a loan from our private bank, buy this property, take the rents, and pay them back to our policies. Or we could just take the monthly payment that would have been paid to a mortgage and make that same amount back. That's not such a bad thing. Now, we didn't buy it because the numbers just didn't pencil the way we wanted. But see how I was thinking? I didn't do it. I didn't buy the property. I wasn't looking for a property, but I was like, why not? Maybe. Let's look. But I looked at it differently. When I look at cars, I look at them differently. I don't look at them as like, oh, wow, what's that going to cost me? I look at them as like, wow, could I save that much more money? There's a big difference. Could I afford that or could I save that much money? Because that is exactly what it is. You go buy yourself a new Porsche, the payment's $2,900 a month. I'm just making this up, but let's say it's $2,900 a month. Some people are like, I could never afford that. And then other people on the other side, when they're their own bank, they're like, well, I do have that much and I could save that much. See, now all of a sudden it becomes a saving problem, not a payment problem. Huge difference in the way you think, isn't it? And when you get to that point too, when you're done with all your personal finances, they're still going to be there. You're never, ever not going to have things you need because you're always going to need new cars. Your kids are going to go to school. They're going to need things. They're going to need cars. They're going to need houses. They might get married, student, all that stuff. All that stuff you can finance. Okay. And when you control the banking functions, that financing is all an asset to you. Every one of those loans are assets. That's the difference, right? A loan to you today is a bad thing. It's a liability. But a loan to you when you're the bank from your banking system, that's an asset. This is the greatest thing ever because you're making money. You're making a spread every single time, and that spread goes up. I'm going to get into that stuff in a second, but I need you to start setting these expectations. I truly do. So today, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about both sides of the infinite banking concept. We're going to talk about how you can recapture the money you're giving away and stay in control of that money and have that money never stop earning. Remember I said that early on, how you could save and spend at the same time. So we're going to get into that in just a second. And when you're ready, we're going to take it a step further and we're going to start putting your money to work, financing other people's dreams, other people's businesses. Now that's if you want to, because thou with the gold makes the rules and you can set your rules to do whatever you want. And many people will go through this entire process where they just throughout their lives, they only finance their own personal financial needs. That's perfectly fine. It really is. There's nothing wrong with that. You will live a really, 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 really good life if that's what you did. But for some of you, the creators, it's just not going to be enough. So let's get tactical here. And I want to kind of just draw this thing. And I got some notes I'm going to use because I'm going to try something different. There's you, okay? Look in the mirror, look in your phone. That's you. Say hi, okay? Then there is a policy, which is not you, but it kind of involves you. So the policy is not you, but it involves you. And that policy is a specially designed and engineered whole life insurance policy, okay? Then over here, that policy, because it is designed properly, builds cash value. And you can access this cash value, and I want you to all repeat this as I write this, within 30 days. Repeat that, type it, say it. Because this is something people miss all the time. I had a guy come up to me, and he was so excited. He had just started his own private banking system with us. He was super pumped that his policy was issued and he got going. And he's like, and I took my first loan and I got excited. I'm getting wrapped up into this guy's story. And I'm like, oh, great. What did you use it for? He's like, nothing. I just wanted to see if what you say is real. I wanted to see if I could do it. And I'm like, I kind of looked at him. I'm like, wait. So you took a loan just to say, yep. He wasn't lying. It wasn't a scam. And he said, yeah, then I just paid the loan back until I'm ready to use the money for something else. Like that kind of stumped me, but you're like, hey, maybe some of you, I don't know, some people, or most specifically, some of you might be thinking that like, is this real? Well, that guy went as far as getting the policy in force and then took a loan just to prove it was real. How many of you have done that? Have any of you done that? I guarantee you out of 127 people, some of you have done that. You don't need to admit it, but that guy did. That was his proof, right? So you got your cash value, then you got your loans. Okay, remember loans, when you are the bank, are assets. You see, to any bank out there, a loan is an asset because your deposit in a traditional bank to the bank, that's a liability. They turn it into an asset through a loan. Here, your policy, your cash value, these are all assets, but then the loan is also an asset. And then after that, this is the funnest part. We end where we begin. We end where we begin. It goes you to the policy, because you are you're the goose, right? The golden goose that lays the egg. You're the one that produces the cheddar. Then you take a part of your cheddar, which is your cash, your income, your savings, and you change where that money goes first. You put it into a specially designed an engineered whole life insurance policy, which we'll talk about why in a second. Okay, and that's where it goes. Then from there, immediately in the first 30 days, if you have a place for it to go, which we'll get into that, if you have a place for it to go where it could work for you, your cash value gets taken out in the form of a loan. And that loan is an asset because it's going to go make more money for you. And then when that loan goes and makes more money, whatever that recaptured amount is, could be recaptured interest. It could be new interest created in a private loan. It could be gains from an investment, like a piece of real estate. All of these things come back to you. And then rinse and repeat. Then you are you. And then we just keep doing the same thing. Now, listen, I draw this differently all the time. But let's just draw it over here. Here's how I always like to look at it. Okay. This is the policy. Be your own bank. Okay. This is your income up here. Some of your income is going to be spent on expenses. Okay. Living expenses. That is not the money that we're going to talk about. The money we're going to talk about changing where it goes. The one change is your savings, the amount you save. Now, some of you might be thinking, I don't save any money right now. No problem. Start tomorrow. Pay yourself first. Make yourself the priority. Listen, all those other people that you got to pay, you make them so high on the priority list that you pay them before you pay yourself. Wrong. Wrong. Pay yourself first. I don't care if it's $10. I don't care if it's 10%. Doesn't matter. Pick the amount. Stick to it. Every time you get paid, you pay yourself in the form of savings. So you change where your savings goes. From the savings, when this money builds up, i.e. cash value, that cash value, now actually let's go into this. Let's talk about why. Because some of you, I didn't really get into this. And actually I got a better slide for that. Let's go into why. We'll come back to this one in just a second. It's a fun thing about having one of these little fancy dancy whiteboards. We can kind of just jump all over the place with this. I want to talk about the why. Your bank account is where your paycheck goes. Am I wrong? Does anyone have their paycheck going somewhere other than a bank, savings, or checking account? Anyone? Because I mean, listen, like I could maybe learn. Maybe there's something that me and Stephen don't know. Okay, it goes to a bank account, right? A checking or savings account, right? Okay, got it. So let's think about your checking or savings account because all of you have different ones. Some of you are earning guaranteed interest on your checking or savings, but that interest can change. So if you were going to hop to a different bank, let's say you're at pick on Bank of America, and let's say your Bank of America account's paying you 2%, but you then saw an ad for a Fidelity bank account that paid 4%. You're making 2, Fidelity pays 4. Many of you might make that change just for that extra 2%. That's viable, right? So that would be the first thing. So when we think about the whole life insurance policy, the specially designed whole life, it has to be better than what you currently have now. Otherwise, why would we ever use it? Why would we change where our savings goes if it's not as good? So the guaranteed interest rate has to be higher. So the guaranteed interest rate in an insurance policy is contractually written. It is a fixed amount. They call it a non-forfeiture amount. The companies we deal with today are anywhere between 2 and 3.75. Is that right, Stephen? 3.75, is that our highest? Okay, 3.75% guaranteed. And here's the coolest part. And this is the differentiation from the policy and your bank account. The policy's interest, the non-forfeiture rate can never ever change. That guaranteed interest rate, fixed for the rest of your life. So if you got a company like Lafayette where it's 2%, fixed 2% for the rest of your life. You can never earn less than that, guaranteed. If it's 3.75, great, fixed. That's it. So let's just call that 3%, okay? Because that's pretty common. Then these are mutually owned life insurance companies. And if you know anything or want to chat GPT, what's the benefit of putting money into a mutually owned life insurance company? Well, that would be dividends. Dividends, because you're technically an owner. They share in the profits or the unused premium that they receive, and they pass that back to their policyholders in the form of a dividend. And here's the cool thing. Even though the dividends are not guaranteed, okay, they don't guarantee dividends like they do interest rate, the dividends have always been paid. I'll pick on one company that's been around 168 years. They've never missed the dividend. Matter of fact, all 5 of the companies we deal with have never once, not throughout history, and none of them are less than 125 years old. I think that's the youngest one is 125 years old. None of them have ever missed a dividend payment, which if you did the math, that means they haven't missed it through the Great Depression. They didn't miss it through any of the recessions from there straight through to the Great Recession. They didn't miss a dividend in the COVID years. They never missed one. So it's pretty safe to say they're going to pay you a dividend. So if you had a policy that had a 3% guarantee, but then you got dividends every year, right now, you're going to probably get somewhere in the neighborhood of 6% dividend crediting rate. One of our companies is at 5.9 and one of our companies is at 6.6. I'm sort of just doing an average for compliance reasons. I'm just kind of averaging this out. So 6%. So now right there, doesn't that make that better than your bank account? Just from surface value, okay? Sniff test, if you will. Well, I'm getting 4 in my bank account. 6 is better than 4. Yes, okay, Chris, that's better. But now let's really divide and conquer here. The policy, because it is life insurance, we design them specifically to the IRS code called the MAX 7 payroll. The policies that we design, I can't speak for anyone else putting a policy together, but we as a company do this for thousands of people. These policies we design are built so that the internal buildup of the cash value, in other words, the dividends and interest that you receive on your cash value, are tax-free. So let's just go back to that dividend crediting rate, that hypothetical 6%. That's 6% tax-free. Now, I urge all of you to do this. Go on Google, ChatGPT, whatever you want, and just enter in what is the tax equivalent yield to earn 6% at a 25% tax rate. I don't know. Someone do it. Tell me what it is in the chat. I bet you it's somewhere 7.5%. You know, at 25%. If you're like a 30 or a 40% tax bracket, it's probably like 8% you'd have to earn in a bank account to get what you get in a stupid policy. So hopefully somebody does that. But not only that, it's protected against judgments and liens in most states. The state that Steven's at, in Florida, I had a guy call me the other day. He's got a policy. He's in a little bit of trouble, going through some shit. And he called me up. He says, hey, I got this thing happening. It's confidential, but is my money protected? Like if I get sued, can they take this money? If I, have them come after this money, can they get it? I looked it up. Florida, no, 100% protection. Protected against judgments and liens. It doesn't matter how many times you get sued. O.J. Simpson's a good example of that one. It's private. You don't have to tell nobody how much money you have in your policies. I'm going to show you guys what I have in my policies right here, but you don't have to tell anybody, and nobody ever will know because it is completely private between you and the insurance company and maybe your spouse. Period. No reporting because it's tax-free. There's no tax reporting. It doesn't go on your tax return. You don't have to tell anybody what's in this policy. It's none of their damn business. That's better than a bank account. Bank account, you got to disclose that on everything. They already know. That's the thing. They already know what you've got in the bank. Sorry. They already know. Plugged in. No volatility, no restrictions. And if you love your family or you have someone you care about, there's a death benefit. Yep, there is a death benefit that is paid tax-free. So I know I went long on that, but I wanted to put that out there because really, at the end of the day, all these things I just mentioned are the why around the whole life. But yet, I know what you've been told. Most of your life, you've been told whole life's a terrible place to put money. Unless you're, part of the silent generation or, one of our grandparents. Then you're like, yep. Back in the day, we always bought these. This is where we all had whole life policies. And back in the day, they did. They all had whole life policies. It was common knowledge. It was a commonplace. It was a smart place to put your money. They were flowing around. Every kid that was born, they put a whole life policy on them. It wasn't because there was better salespeople back then. Matter of fact, there was probably a lot less salespeople. There was a lot less company, but it was because that was smart. Then all of a sudden, with all this stuff, the IULs, the VULs, all this other nonsense products out there that benefit the insurance companies more than it benefits you. Now, all of a sudden, these whole life policies are not the policies that you should be doing. But Stephen, is there any questions on that so far? Because I want to really kind of kick this into high gear. Now that they know why, I want to get into the actual use case.
You can keep rolling right now. There's a couple simple questions I'll answer over in the chat box.
Okay. We're going to go back to that thing that Shauna did.
And while you're pulling that up, Chris, we do record this and it gets placed on the YouTube channel typically on Saturday, following the show on Wednesday. So it'll be on the YouTube channel Saturday. So it's I'll put the link over, but it's YouTube at the Chris Naugle. And subscribe to the channel if you're new, and you'll get alerted whenever we put new videos and content up so you don't miss anything.
All right, so back to this, because now you all understand that. Starts with you. You store money in the policy, okay? The policy creates cash value, grows guaranteed with a guaranteed interest rate plus dividends in a tax-free account that is protected against judgments and liens. Then you have access immediately in the first 30 days to your cash value to take a loan from the policy and use it. So you have access and control. And then from there, the money recaptures back to you. But here's the thing, and I don't think we've hit this yet. This cash value, I'll just give them some math here. Let's say you got $10,000 in cash value, and it doesn't have to, 10,000 is just an easy math number, folks. I'm just using that. You built up 10,000 bucks in cash value because you changed where your savings went. You stopped putting them in the bank. You started putting them into this specially designed policy that built your cash value. You received dividends and interest on that money. You got 10 grand. Let's just say you take $9,000 out of your policy by taking a loan. How much money in cash value do you still have? I think all of you know this. You still have $10,000 because you didn't use your money. It was not your money that you used because you borrowed the insurance company's money. Because remember I said the insurance company made a promise, actually two promises. They promised you a guaranteed interest rate, but they also promised you a death benefit the day you die. That death benefit's going to be paid out no matter what the day you die. Unless you lapse the policy, that there's no way they can get out of the contractual obligation to pay that death benefit. I mean, well, let me be compliance here. In the first 2 years, if you commit suicide, that's possible that they wouldn't pay out a death benefit. If in the first 2 years you lied, like you had cancer, somehow you got around not telling them you had cancer and they found out and you died within 2 years, those are the contestability periods. So they may not pay under those. So I just want to be clear. But outside of that, after the 2 years, like, man, they're paying. That's it. So there's a death benefit. So because they have an obligation to pay a death benefit, and because they know, and everybody knows, we're all going to die, so the death benefit's inevitably going to be paid out, they have to have that money set aside in their general account. So we'll just say GA, general account. That's like their stockpile of money, and they have billions of dollars in that. So because they got all this money in this general account, do you think the insurance companies want to make interest on that money? You think they want safe places to invest that? Of course they do. Well, what's safer than letting you access part of your death benefit while you're living? Well, that's almost no risk for the insurance company because the insurance company sees that you've got $10,000 in cash value, which means you've saved $10,000. So that money's there. It's earning guaranteed interest and dividends. But the insurance company says, well, hell, if you want to use some of this death benefit, let's call the death benefit $100,000. If you want to use some of that death benefit, have at it. You can use any amount of that death benefit. We'll advance money from the general account up to the amount you have in cash value because we want collateral. Oh, okay. So the insurance company advances you $9,000 of your $10,000. It's usually about 90%. I'm giving you actual real numbers. Okay. So now you got $9,000, but you still have 10 grand in your account earning interest and dividends. That's pretty cool, right? Where else can you do that? Some of you might have a stock portfolio and you're like, oh, I could do that with my margin account. Great, but you're doing it with risk assets. This is risk off assets, risk-free assets. Okay, difference, big difference. And some of you might be like, oh, that's just my house and my HELOC. Correct. Your house is still appreciating at the same time you're using the equity. Perfect, that's it. And the insurance company is going to charge interest. Now, I just got word today, one of the main insurance companies we use just dropped rates again. And I'm not going to say this is for every policy, so hold this lightly. They're at like 4.85%. Stephen, did you hear that yesterday on that call you were on? Did he tell you what the interest rate was now? It went down again. So rates moved down. So but let's just round up, okay? Because we have one company that's in the sixes and one that's under the five. So let's just say the insurance company is going to charge you 5%. So if we were to just look at this, and I'll show you the math, if your cash value was getting a 6% dividend crediting rate gross and you were paying 5%, effectively, how do banks make money? Don't they make a spread? Don't banks pay you interest and charge you more in interest? So if a bank pays you 2% in interest, can you get a loan for less than 2? Nope, more than 2. Always, they got to make a spread. And you're like, bank's got to make money. I get it. Great. If you all understood that, Oh, the bank's got to make money. I mean, that's how they stay in business. You know, I want them to be in business because they're my bank. So by saying that, you're acknowledging that it's okay that the bank pays you 2 and charges you 5. You're okay with that. That's just how it is. The bank's got to make money. Yes, exactly. That's why you want to be the bank. That's why you want to treat your life, your money, the same way a bank treats their money, or your money, if you will. So right there, it's okay to make a spread. Yeah. Well, you know, bank got to make money somehow. You are the bank. You are the bank here. Of course you got to make money. Silly. Right? So you're making the spread. But then when you take the loan out, the loan goes somewhere. And we always call that the opportunity. So your loan is going to go somewhere where it's going to earn more than the 5% that it cost you to use the insurance company's money. That's the main rule. So write that down, folks. We're going to replace they with I. We're going to replace they with I on everything that you do from here on out. And it's very simple. Simple rule. If you can use the insurance company's money at 5, the only rule we have to abide by is that that money that we take as a loan can go out there and earn more than 5. So the simplest place to look, your debts. Your credit cards are probably 20%. Is that more than 5? Yes, that means you make a 15% spread if your credit card's at 20. Your car loan, oh, it's at 6. Great. Is that more than 5? Yes, it's 1% more. Great. You make a spread of 1. But it's never just that spread. You see, banks make money one time. Your bank is special. Their bank sucks. Your bank does not suck because your bank makes money twice on every dollar. How? Oh, well, remember, if we follow that simple rule of we use the loan to pay off a credit card, we make a 15% spread, okay? That's a 15% spread. Just want you to all be clear about where we're at with that. 20 minus the 5, this is your cost of capital from the insurance company. This is what you're paying somebody else. 15% spread. But it isn't 15% spread. It's more because you got the 15% spread plus whatever interest and dividends you received. So let me just take this second because this is a really good time to pivot because we're going to go quick and I'm going to draw a few more things. But let me just show you something. Now, I'm going to try to cover my policy number, but you see this? This is a really old policy statement, or this is one of my old policies that I started, damn, my eyes are bad. 2008. I started this June 1st, 2008. You can all see that right there. I think. Close enough? Can you see 2008? June? Trying to make it there. All right, but let me just read this to you because this is my policy statement. This is one that I received June 2nd, 2025. I'll get another one next month. And it'll be fun because we'll be able to do this again after you watch this. So here's my numbers. This policy was one of the ones I started early on. I put $389.06 into it every month. Okay. My death benefit started at $250,000. And my death benefit today, so we got to go from 2008 to 2025. My death benefit today is now $293. Did it go up or down? It went up, right? Do we want our death benefit to go down or do we want it to go up? We want it to go up because then when we take loans from our policy, we're not taking away from what we originally wanted for protection for our family, which in this case, 250 grand. Now I've got 293. How much cash value do I have? $99,436. Okay, but now let me read you something, okay? And it's right on this statement. It is right here, okay? See, it's highlighted, and I'm going to read it verbatim. During the past year, your base plan guaranteed cash value increased $6,567.50. Let's just stop there. Remember I said your policy is guaranteed to grow because it has a guaranteed interest rate. That's what this is referring to, my guaranteed interest rate. Not my dividend, just my interest rate. So let's just look at the math. Now, this policy is old, but it's just a regular whole life. This isn't even specially designed. I put in my premium for the year was $4,407, okay? How much did I just tell you my guaranteed interest grew by? $6,567.50. How many of you want to deposit $4,407 and be able to get guaranteed growth of $6,567? Every single freaking one of you. Don't you dare not raise your hand. I don't care if you've got $1 billion in the bank. You know damn well you want that. Matter of fact, it's always the folks that have money, the affluent clients that we deal with, that are always like, yep, already doing that. See, they've kind of gone around. That wisdom has caught up to them. They've got around other people of means, and those people are like, you're not putting money into this privatized banking stuff? Like, why? Like, look, let me show you mine. But hold on, let me keep reading. Okay, so from guaranteed cash value increase, $6,567.50, from $76,452 to $83,020. In addition, this is my favorite part. In addition to this increase, your annual dividend was $2,030.92. I know some people don't believe anything, so there's that. 2,000, see that? 2,000, trying to give it to you. It's hard to zoom in. And then over here was that. So now let's just do that math. Guaranteed interest was $6,567. The dividend was $2,030.92. Folks, this is exactly what your policy will look like. If you have a policy and that policy matures to be, what this one was, because I started this a long time ago, your policy will exceed this, will be way better than this. This is just a normal whole life. I didn't even know what infinite banking was in 2008. I'm like, hey, let's put money in a whole life policy because it just makes sense. All right. I was a financial advisor. This isn't where I put most of my money. I only put $389 a month in it. But let's just do that math. That's $8,598.42. I put in that year $4,407.50, which means my net gain, okay, net of commissions, net of policy service fees, net of the cost of the insurance, that death benefit, net of any costs, I made $4,190.92. So now let's look at the math. You deposit $4,407. You make $4,190.92 after all is done and said, and your family is protected. That's 95%. I'm not making numbers up here, folks. That is 95%. That is a return, a cash on cash return. I know it doesn't even seem real. It sounds too good to be true, but I'm physically showing you. I'm trying to get my policy number. I'm physically showing you my policy. I'm showing you the math. This is not complicated math. This isn't arithmetic that is hard to do. But let me just do one more thing because I know I'm going to run out of time here because I get so excited about this stuff. Let's go 1 year before that. You all heard those numbers. Now we're going to go quick because this is the same statement. Now this one I was smart. I blacked it out. This is just from June 2nd, 2023 to June 3rd, 2024. Same policy. Okay. Same amount going in, 4,407. Now let me read you that one line. During the past year, your base plan guaranteed cash value increased $6,352.50 from $70,000 to $76,000. In addition to this increase, your annual dividend was $1,710.62. Did my dividend go up or down in a year? It went up. Okay. Yours will too. Yours will always go up. Your dividend goes up because your cash value goes up. And your cash value is guaranteed to go up, just like mine did. So how much was, if I did all that math, interest plus dividend minus premium, how much did I make? 82.9% cash on cash. 82.9% cash on cash, which most people would even still think that's too good to be true. But see, I led with the year of 2025 where I made 95%. So in 1 year, without any market help, without any help at all of anything, without using the infinite banking concept, this stupid whole life policy went from 82.9% cash on cash return on my money to 95%. Do you see what I'm trying to explain to you? Like this isn't foo-foo. This isn't magic. This is just a stupid whole life. So why do we want to change where our money goes first? If that isn't proof of the pudding, then I'm not doing a very good job. But back to that shift. Let's come back over here because I got a little carried away. Let's go one step further here. And I'm going to get rid of this. It's a beautiful thing about the whiteboards. I can kind of just start and finish wherever I want. It's a blank canvas. Now, we're going to model something. We're going to go from policy to loan to interest, to deal to interest back to you, which then goes from you to the policy, from the policy to the loan. One rule, remember, whatever the cost of capital is, I said 5, The deal has to earn more than 5. Hence why we walked away from that duplex. It did not. It did not make enough to make this make sense. So 5, so my deal's got to make more than 5. So my deal makes 10. I take the 10% interest. I move the money back to myself. I'm increasing my capacity. Does that make sense? By that simple arithmetic called letters, policy to loan to deal spread. That sounds dirty. Policy to loan to deal to interest back to you. You are creating capacity. You didn't have to work any harder. See, this is where the rubber meets the road. So pay attention and listen, because I think this will benefit each and every one of you. You didn't have to work any harder. You didn't have to work longer. You didn't have to do overtime. You didn't have to take on any risk. Your money is now working for you. I just demonstrated it real time. And that wasn't pre-planned, folks. I didn't have that opened up to that page. Like, I could have picked any policy and it would be the same. Numbers would be different. Your money is working for you. Now what we're doing is we're kicking this into high gear. And you're probably asking, well, I don't know how to do that, Chris. How would I make 10% or 12% on a deal? Well, Stephen's going to show you that in just a second. I just want you to understand that all we just did is our money originating right here in a loan from our banking system. Our banking system is the policy, okay? Creates capacity in the form of a spread and in the form of interest. Two things are happening at the exact same time. We are making a spread. You are becoming the bank, doing what a bank does. You took back the banking function. Normally, you gave this away. Most real estate deals that people see, they run all their pro forma numbers, and you know what there always is? There's the mortgage, the loan, and the cost. And then there's the net. You are the mortgage holder. You are the mortgage originator. You are the bank. You don't have to subtract that anymore. You're adding that. So you create capacity, or in the form, that's a deal if you were doing that, but what if you lent the money out? Then the interest just comes back to you. When you create capacity without having to work harder for it, guess what that's called? Wealth building. The only thing that's different is your whole life you have been taught that to build wealth, to get ahead, you got to work harder, you got to work longer, you got to make more money. This does not involve that. This just means your money has to work smarter for you, or your money has to work more efficiently for you. And listen, I get it. For some of you, you're thinking, well, I don't know how to do that. And neither did I. But the one thing I will tell you, and I want to kind of show this, and then Stephen, I'm going to kick this over to you to kind of walk us through some real life examples. So I want you to understand this right here, all right? So what we just did that one. We have to model sometimes. Your policies in the beginning are not going to have enough to finance everything. So you're going to have to do some capital stacking. But let's just kind of look at this. Let's just say on Private Money Club, which we're going to get into, you saw a deal for $100,000. Okay, a really good borrower who you did the due diligence on, who you know, it's a first lien position, personally guaranteed. They got lots of assets. They're a good operator. They're just the risk mitigation is cut down because you did your due diligence. They're looking for $100,000. They're willing to pay 12% interest. It's a 1-year deal. Remember, first lien and personally guaranteed, PG, not the same as the Michael Jackson movie, PG. Okay, so 40% of your money might come from your infinite banking concepts, from your private bank. 30,000, not percent, same difference though, $40,000. $30,000 might come from your self-directed individual retirement account, or this could be your 401k. Okay, so that's where that piece comes from. Then maybe you've got a house and you've got a HELOC, so 30,000 comes from your HELOC or your first lien HELOC. Okay, then now what you've done is you've capital stacked and you have $100,000. But hold on, what if you didn't have all this? What if you only had $40,000? What if you only had $30,000 in your self-directed IRA? You hadn't even started your infinite banking concepts journey yet. Or what if you just had $30,000 in the HELOC and you're like, I can't do this deal. The guy needs $100,000. I've only got 30. You only have 30. Chris Naugle has 40,000 in his infinite banking policy. And if this guy's as good as you say he is, and I do my due diligence, I might be in on that. Steven looks at the deal, and Steven's got 30 grand in his self-directed IRA. And Steven's like, wow, I definitely would love to do that deal. That's a good deal. I just don't have 100 grand. But if Chris has got 40 and Steven's got 30 and you got 30, now we got 100. And all of us can go in that first lien mortgage in some states. You just stack them on the mortgage in the note. You see what I'm saying? So now you're capital stacking. Now all of a sudden goals are getting done. The deal is getting fully funded. Everybody's making 12% of their money. So I'm making a spread on my money plus that. Steven's making 12% on his money. The HELOC's making a spread. So if their HELOC costs them 8% and this deal is 12, well, they're making the difference between the 8 and the 12. You see, everybody's winning here. And the borrower is winning because the borrower got the money to go do his deal, and he or she is going to make more than what they're paying us, clearly. You see, this isn't difficult. It's just thinking different. It's getting resourceful. Stephen, what was that I told you, like the first time you and I ever met? You say it often, and you say you'll never forget it. What was that statement I said to you?
It's not about your actual resources. It's how resourceful you can be.
Isn't that being resourceful? So,
Well,
Stephen, let's take a second and let's show them Private Money Club. Let's show them exactly where deals like this exist. So, folks, back when I made that shift, back when I had to start creating, as he's pulling this up, I had paid off all my debts. I had the cars financed. You know, I was doing my own deals, but I still had capacity in my policies. And I wanted to do more. And I remember it was funny because the early days of what you're about to see, it was me and Steven. We were in California. I was speaking at an event that he was at. I remember it was like this beautiful hotel with all glass front, and we were at this round bar. And, you know, I didn't have to ask Steven twice. I'm like, hey, do you want to grab a beer? I want to show you something. He's like, yep. So we got beers. We're sipping them. I didn't have any paper. I just had a napkin, and I asked the bartender for a pen. And I drew a circle on a piece of paper, just a circle. And I said, Steven, I've been doing a bunch of research. He knew that I did privatized banking because he'd seen my presentation. So I did a bunch of research. And, you know, one of the things that really eludes me or kind of confuses me is why there isn't one place where people who have money that want to lend can go to look at deals, and people that need deals can just look for people that have money. Because, like, there's only two problems in the world. People that have money have a problem, and that is they want to make more. And then there's people that need money. Yeah, right here. This is perfect. There's the circle. And then there's people that need money. And those people that need money have a problem because if they don't get the money, they can't make more money. And I said, there's got to be a place where both of these parties can come together and solve one another's problems. Do you all realize that the number one path to success, the number one thing above all the stuff that I just taught you, okay, is solving someone else's problem? So listen, we'll have you on here when we're all done and said, and it's amazing. You know what's amazing? And I want to give all of you credit for something here really quick. This is really important. Every one of you on here, we started this webinar. I look up attendees, 127. And there's 125 right now. Thank you. For 1 hour, 125 of you stayed with me, which means I like to think that means that I'm providing you value. I'm giving you something of substance, something that can change your life. Because listen, like, if this wasn't valuable, you would have left. And I just went up by one. Now we're at 126. Look at that. So you know why that is? It's because I'm trying to solve your problem, and I'm not asking for anything. But I do want to give you something because I feel like I would definitely not be closing the loop on something. If any of you love what we're talking about, but you think, oh, I've got a unique situation, I don't know what my situation is. I love the Ritz-Carlton because they are service first. Never at the Ritz-Carlton will you ever have to talk to a computer, talk to AI. You will always talk to a human. When you want something, you don't have to call down to the front desk. You ask anybody. You ask the person cleaning your room, hey, do you know where I can get some popcorn? They will go get you popcorn. Even if that hotel doesn't serve popcorn, they will get in their car, drive to 7-Eleven, get popcorn, come back, put it in a nice fancy bowl that says Ritz-Carlton and deliver it to your room. And who will deliver it? Your house cleaner. That's service. My companies, this company that we're talking about, which is Be Your Own Banker, Money School, okay? This company is all about service. So some of you want to get on the phone with one of us. You want to talk to us about your needs, your goals, what problems you have. Great. I'm going to put it up there. Stephen, can you type this in the thing? All you need to do is call 866-329-2962, or 2962 is BYOB. That's all you need to remember. So really it's 866-329-BYOB. You call that number. You're only going to get a computer for one thing, and that is telling us who you want to talk to. Do you want to talk to somebody about policies or the infinite banking or privatized banking or be your own banker? Great. Click 1. A human being will answer the phone. You want to talk to somebody about this, Private Money Club. You hit number 2 or whatever number that is. You want to talk to somebody at PMC Wealth, our financial advisory division. Great. You hit that one, and a human being will answer. Like, it isn't that complicated. But yet in today's world, I don't know why, but we somehow have drifted off the path. Like I said in the beginning, the fork in the road came, we went the wrong way. People, humans, do not want to talk to robots. They do not want to talk to AI. And if you do, you're the weird one. They want to talk to other humans because humans have empathy. They care. A robot just cares about its prompts. Humans care deeply. Humans care about stories. We cry over Facebook posts. For crying out loud. Are we soft? No, we just have empathy. You watch the Michael Jackson movie and you can't help but to watch how he was always kind to people, always giving. You can't ignore that. Robots and computer and AI doesn't do that. So I just said, there's never going to be robots or computers that you're going to have to talk to. You're going to talk to humans because that's what we do. We solve your problem, and that's why you're still here. So, Stephen, tell them a little bit about Private Money Club, and let's just run some numbers for them.
Yeah, I mean the options really on here are unlimited. I mean, the beautiful thing about private money is that everything is negotiable. The terms are what works between both parties, and it's all about the relationship. So, the challenge with dealing with the banks, financial institutions, hard money, things of that nature is you're a number. They treat you as a piece of data, a number. You need to fit within what they call a buy box. So you have to have the right credit score. You have to have the right debt to income ratios. You have to have the right loan to value. You have to have the right type of deal. You have to have et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so we're private. And on top of that, obviously it takes time when you're dealing with the banks. They want to run all these extra things, fill out all this paperwork. It takes all this time. It's such a pain if you've ever had to deal with that before. I mean, those of you that own a home, maybe you've never really invested in real estate, but maybe you own a home. Just think about when you closed on your home, all the paperwork that was involved. And then think about having to do that 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times a month as a real estate investor and what that looks like. And so many people love private money because it's all about the relationships. And so I said over in the chat box, every single one of you should right now type in your browser privatemoneyclub.com. And as soon as this webinar ends in about 15 minutes, go ahead and create a free account. There's a free membership option. So you can go in, you can create a profile. You can go into this community forum that I'm showing you right here, and you can start networking. You can start browsing through the site. You can start learning some of the free resources that we have available to free members on here. And you can start learning a little bit about what real estate investing is all about. We do 2 free webinars every single week that you can attend. Every Monday at 1 p.m. Monday is Money Club Monday, and every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern is what's called the PMC Quick Start webinar, which is 60 minutes of real estate and private money education every single week. And every week it's new. It's taught by Noah Harris, who's just an incredible investor and person and coach. And so all of you should be on here right now, privatemoneyclub.com, create your free membership and go from there with it. Those of you that are serious about wanting to really get into real estate investing, if you really want to get into private money lending, you want to learn more, then that's when you're going to want to call us and have a conversation. Okay. And I'll show you, I'll put the phone number in. You can actually call that same phone number, the 866-329-2962. You can actually choose the Private Money Club option. I think it's option 2 on there when you call, and it'll get you connected with our PMC team. And so we're standing by and ready to go to explain to you different what a premier membership looks like, what some of our different programs are that, for example, we have what's called the Private Money Club Accelerator Program. It's an 8-week class. It's 4 weeks of twice a week Zooms with about 25 other people in your same situation that are learning this stuff. And so so you go on for 4 weeks, twice a week, and you learn basically everything that you need to know, the foundation of how private money works, how to start evaluating deals, how to start underwriting deals. And Chris, maybe we can just give some pointers, as we go with this. So, when it comes to real estate and private money, a lot of these terms could be new. So, when we talk about underwriting a deal and doing due diligence, does
Can
anybody
you click on
know?
a deal just so we're looking at a deal while we do it? Just grab
Yeah,
any
yeah.
any deal. It doesn't matter. I don't know. Pick like, yeah, pick that one. Who cares?
Let's pull this one up right here. So Matt Yudersky, you'll see him. He was just on Money Club Monday on Monday presenting this deal. Matt told me he's now borrowed from I think he said 5 or possibly 6 different private money club lenders, and he's only been in the community for about 6 months. So if we look at this, before I get into the underwriting, just to show you Matt's profile, one of the reasons he's had good success is look at this. It looks very professional, right? He has his business branding in the background, Loan and Own, that's his brand. And when you hear him talk on Money Club Monday, you'll kind of hear him talk about that. Good looking picture. He's got a good little profile bio at the bottom right here. And you can see he's a premier member, which lets you know he's serious. He's investing in himself and he's educated. He's gone through and passed the exams for both the certified lender and the certified borrower courses that were included with his premier membership. So just right there, because when we talk about underwriting one of these deals and doing your due diligence, there's really 2 parts to that. There's the person and the company that's actually managing the project, that found the deal, that's doing the work to it, that's going to be selling it or whatever their exit strategy is. So that's the first part of the underwriting and due diligence. And then the second part is the deal itself. And as a lender, I don't know for you, Chris, but for me, the borrower is actually more important than the deal, but you can decide what
100%.
that looks like for you. And we talk a lot about that, like in the accelerator coaching, as well as in these certification courses. But let's talk a little bit about the underwriting of this, Chris.
So the first things, that I do when I underwrite a deal is I'm going to research Matt. I'm going to take his name, I'm going to run it through ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini, and I'm just going to try to find dirt on Matt. I'm going to say, what has Matt done? Give me the whole history of Matt. I'm going to browse Matt's social profiles. I'm going to read his profile on here. I'm going to look at his ratings and his reviews on Private Money Club right there. Does he have any positive? Now he has none, so that's not a good metric. I'm going to look at the other deals he's done. And I'm actually going to then click on the other deal. And sometimes, not always, sometimes you can see who else was in on that deal, like who lent to him on that one. Or I'm going to call Matt and I'm going to say, hey, which that deal that you had up before, did it get funded and who funded it? And then I'm going to reach out to them and I'm going to get, their take on it. Hey, does Matt pay on time? Is he ever late? Does he make excuses? What due diligence did you do on that? So I'm going to go through the whole gamut. And then I'm going to ask Matt some hard questions. They shouldn't be hard because these are questions every bank in the world would ask you if you want to borrow money from them. I'm going to ask Matt to show me his personal financial statement. I'm going to ask Matt to show me all the prior deals that he has done and show me whether he's made money or lost money. I'm going to ask Matt point blank, have you ever lost money on a deal? And has anyone ever lost money lending money to you? Have you ever been late on payments? I'm going to just ask him a whole barrage of questions that are gauging questions on Matt. Now, could Matt lie to me? Sure. Which is why I'm going to do additional research online to see what this chat. AI is a wonderful tool. It's not a tool that you want to talk to frontline, but it's a wonderful tool for research. Because if Matt did something crappy, if there's Reddits out there, if there's anything, you can prompt any AI to chase him. Now, once I'm done with all the stuff on Matt, and I'm going to want to see, does Matt have any more stuff? I want to see, does Matt have a title search on this property? This is a thing that's often missed. I've never, ever gone into a bank situation, or sorry, a lending situation with a bank where the bank hasn't pulled title on the property to make sure there's no outstanding liens on a property. I'm going to ask Matt to do a title search, or I'm going to do it and charge Matt for it. Okay. And then not only that, I'm going to tell Matt, hey, are you going to get insurance on this property? Because by these photos, I don't know many insurance companies that would insure this sucker. So how are you going to insure it? Okay. And if you insure it and I lend to you, are you going to put me as an additionally insured on the insurance policy? So I'm going to go through all these things. Then I'm just going to do what Stephen's been doing here and what many of you have been looking at. I'm going to look at the property, but right off the bat, this property is a piece of crap. But you see, Matt's business model, I'm familiar with it. It's called slow flip. Doesn't really matter what it looks like. All he's got to do is go in and clean it. He might have to put some windows in this one to make it livable, but maybe not even that. He's just got to go in and get it clean. Okay, that's it. No paint, no carpet, none of that good stuff. Now, I don't know if that's exactly what he's doing here, but let's just look at his terms. He wants 30 grand. Remember, I told you if you don't have 30 grand, get resourceful. I mean, I bet you any money, it wouldn't be hard to find other people that want to make 12%. They would put 10 grand in each. I mean, see, this is nice. You can chunk down these deals, but 30 grand is a relatively low dollar amount. Over 60 months, he's going to pay 12% return. Okay. That's $667. So I would add that up and I would figure out, okay, how much am I making per year? It's not 12%. Okay. But it's still probably a decent return. And then I would look at the whole thing and I would ask him, you know, and I think it probably says there, am I going to be in first lien position? So all these different things, I'm going to read all this. I'm not going to do it right now. And I'm going to make assumptions about the property. And then what I'm going to ask Matt for is one of two things. And if Matt can't produce this, then I don't lend to him. Listen, all these things are just knockouts. If Matt can't give me this or won't give me that, then I don't need to lend to Matt. That's the fun thing. You don't have to lend to anybody. And you shouldn't. Don't ever feel compelled to lend. Like, listen, saying no is easy. I sent an email, two sentences today to that property, and that guy worked his butt off trying to sell us that property. The numbers just didn't work. I said, we're going to pass on this deal. It just, the numbers don't work, blah, blah, blah. All these deals, like, look at them. These aren't pretty houses, but you're not going to live there. The only thing that matters is this. I'm going to ask Matt or any of these different borrowers, I'm going to ask them to provide me an appraisal on the property. If they can't do an appraisal or maybe that's not appropriate, I'm going to ask them for a broker price opinion, a BPO. That is not difficult. There's not ever a borrower who should not be able to provide that to you instantly. Now, that's a nice looking house. Okay, so I'm going to get that because all I want to make sure, this is the only thing I care about. If I'm in a first lien position, okay, I'm numero uno. There's no one ahead of me. And I looked at the title search. And if you don't know how to pull a title search, you don't know how to read a title search, listen, that's fine. Hire an attorney. You should always have an attorney review everything for you. Okay, that's just common sense. But some don't do that. Don't believe anybody. Get an attorney to review everything and ask the attorney to pull the title search and have the attorney bill the borrower, get approval from the borrower to pay for that or have them do it. And now I know I'm first only. So the appraisal or the BPO is there for one reason. Is that house worth more than $30,000? If Matt stops paying me and I need to foreclose on that house, I want to make sure that it's a state where foreclosure is fairly simple, not a state like New York, not a state like California, but California's not bad, a state that's not hard to get a foreclosure proceeding put through, so that if I take that property back, I know that property is worth more than I lent on it. That's all I care about. So once I've closed all those gaps, I've had my attorney review all the paperwork, look at the title search, make sure that I'm on the insurance policy by looking at the insurance binder, and then I'm pretty much ready to go. But here's the second thing I do. I never, ever would send the money direct to Matt. Matt might even say, well, I need the money. I got to close on this. Great. What title company are you using? What attorney are you using? This is Jamie. Jamie's not your attorney, but she is an attorney. She always does great advice on here, and she does deals herself. But anyway, I'm never sending the money to borrowers. I'm sending the money to the borrower's title company, and I'm doing some due diligence on them. That title company, are they legitimate? Simple Google search will tell you that. Or I'm sending it to an attorney, even if it's the borrower's attorney. A lot of times I'll have my attorney hold it in escrow, and I'll make the borrower pay for my attorney's fees. They don't like that, but you know what? Thou with the gold makes the rules. You don't like that, you don't need my money. And sometimes the borrower will say, that's fine. All right. Well, thanks, but this isn't going to work. Walk the other way. Who cares? Find the next deal. There's only about, 20 to 30 deals on here every single day to look over. Like, there's options. And that was the whole point of Private Money Club. That circle, like options, choices. It's like a buffet, right? I know all of you like going to the buffet. That's why Las Vegas has those ginormous buffets, because people just like variety. They like choices. You got all sorts of different options on what you want to lend on here. And if you don't want to look and look and look, just search. Go over here, set your filters, set your preferences, tell the system what it is you want. And the system will generate only what you want. If you don't want to see deals that are 500,000 because they're just distracting, great. Put your range in there. I only want to see deals that are $10,000 to $100,000. And guess what it will do? Show you only deals in your parameters. You only want to see deals that are 12 months. Great. Set your deal term. You can literally go in there. And then when you find a borrower that you really like, you just click that little favorites only thing. Okay. And if you don't want people to ever send you anything, you just ignore them. Okay. That's the beauty. You have choice on this page. on this site in this community. You get to set your preferences, your notifications. You get to decide who you talk to and who you don't. It's kind of like Facebook. Somebody puts up a negative thing on there, like they did on my little running video that Stephen was talking about. Somebody puts a negative comment. You know what? You don't want to deal with it. You block their ass. You just don't have to deal with people that you don't want to deal with. And that's how we designed this. And the best thing about this site, not all the features that we just went over, but this site, completely free. I can't remember who it said. Somebody just a second ago said they went in and created a profile. Probably didn't cost them anything. Okay. Just, yeah, right here. David Stewart just created my account. Didn't cost them anything. You can go on and create an account. You can use the resources. We got all this free stuff and insights that you can do. Look, enjoy. And then when you're serious about it and you want to set notifications, you want all those extra bells and whistles because you're going to get serious about this, then you become a Premier member. And you let everybody else know you're a Premier member. And then if you want to take the next step, you become a certified Premier member. Okay, so all these things are just layers onto how much of a professional do you want to be in this capacity. And that's up to you. But this is just how you get your money working for you. And this is that next evolution. So you're going to be your bank on your stuff. You're going to finance and take back all the bank functions in your life on your stuff, in your life, in your business. And then eventually you're going to start becoming the bank for other people. And that's that next evolution. And that's where I'm at. And I know that's where Stephen's at.
Yeah, one pointer I'll give too is when you do take this serious and become a premier member within Private Money Club, you're going to receive some bonus points and credits to use within the platform. And my recommendation would be to take the certification course that you are primarily going to be. So if you're a lender or a borrower, I would take one or the other because with a premier membership, you're going to receive 20,000 points just initially with that. So I would spend 10 on one of those. And then I would also spend 10. This course right here is also 10, this loss mitigation course. So I would definitely probably check those out, would probably be the best ones to start with, just to kind of really protect yourself and make sure you're moving in the right direction with everything.
I love that. And folks, Brad, if you're still on with us, I know you were asking a very specific situation, and that's great. And you were saying, any thoughts, any advice as to like, what are the next steps? So let me give everybody the next steps. I think that's a really important thing. People need next steps. So at this point, we're kind of coming to the end of this webinar of Wealth Webinar today. We've spent an hour and a half together. And again, I commend all of you. We still got 118 people, but some of you, especially the 118 that are still on here, you are looking for next steps. I gave you one of those next steps. So like Brad, book a call with us. Okay, right there, I put it up there. Give us a call. You can even put your name in the chat right now. Or not your name, put your phone number in the chat right now. We'll reach out to you. Do not need a code. Oh yeah. Just put your name and phone number or just your phone number because we have your name and we'll reach out to you right now. We'll have somebody text you right now. We'll figure out a good time and we'll sit down and we'll talk about your stuff. And we're not going to try to sell you anything. No one on my team is going to sit down and try to sell you anything. If you call the 800 number and you get the Private Money Club team on the phone, they might try to sell you something, but that's their job. Their job is to basically tell you all about Private Money Club and get you set up in the right packages that make sense for what you're doing. But if you do the call about the banking, about being your own bank, no one's going to try to sell you anything because what they're going to do, and I guarantee you this, they're going to solve your problem. They're going to do everything they can to learn about you, learn about your situation. Like Brad gave you some info about his. I'm not going to share it, but they're going to learn more about Brad's situation. And they're going to come up with a solution that either solves Brad's problem or points Brad into the next steps if being your own bank isn't the right choice. We're not going to just dump you off. Okay. In the past, maybe we kind of had a tendency of doing that. Not dumping you off, but if like you got denied or something happened and we just didn't feel like we could help you with the policy, that was kind of the end of the road because we really didn't have anything else. But we've evolved. Now we have an annuity division. Now we have PMC Wealth. Now we have Private Money Club. We have all these additional things. We have the Vault software. Stephen, can you put the Vault software link in there? Somebody is asking about the Vault software earlier, and I'm remiss. I haven't told you guys about that or showed it, but the Vault software is the operating system. It's the technology, the AI-driven technology that becomes your operating system for you being your own bank. Like, think of it like the GPS in your car. You don't have to know how to get somewhere. You don't need an atlas in your car anymore. You just type it into the GPS. The Vault is your GPS, but also it's your modeling tool. It allows you to run scenarios for your private banking system to know, does it make sense and what is the best way for me to pay off debt? Does it make sense to buy the car using my banking system? Does it make sense for me to lend money on this private lending deal? What are the economics? What are the financial benefits I'm going to receive by using my private banking versus doing it the old way? And it will show you all that. It is truly the operating system there. Who should you ask for? Well, when you get on that, when you call that number, Brad, I don't know whether you want to meet with somebody about being your own bank or with somebody about private money club. So just those options will come up: PMC Wealth, BYOB, or private money club. Just click whatever one you want. So let's just say it's BYOB. You click that, and when you get the person on the phone, and how our system operates is there's not really somebody you need to ask for. Whoever's available, it's a first come, first serve. So we have, how many round robin mentors do we have?
Oh, we have 5 on there.
5. So there's 5 people. The first person to take the call is who you'll be talking to. But all of them were trained by myself and Steve, and Steven trains them every week on 2 different trainings. So they're highly trained. They're highly capable of solving your problem. But here's the best thing, Brad. If for some reason the person you get on the phone can't solve your problem because you're a higher level than they want to be, like let's say you got on the phone with one of them and you're like talking, oh, I need to set up an irrevocable trust for this. I need an ILET for that. I want to, do a COLI policy. You might be above and beyond that person's level of knowledge. They're going to escalate you to PMC Wealth, to one of the financial advisors. And then that person is going to be able to literally take you to the moon and back, because that's what they're trained in. So we have everybody in our team that is there for a specific need and goal. Or maybe, Brad, maybe your situation was really complex. We just go over to the advanced markets team. And then they're going to be your liaison between, the BYOB stuff, PMC Wealth, the annuity division. They're going to be able to do all those things. But again, the first thing to do is set up a call. Now, for the rest of you, basically kind of the same thing applies, is what is your next step? What is it that you want to accomplish? Is a call the next step for you? Maybe watching YouTube videos, okay? Maybe you just need to be around the campfire a little longer, and that's okay too, because that's very common. So my YouTube channel has, 1,400 videos. You can go on there and search for whatever it is. Pay down debt. Go to @ Chris Naugle, and you just type in what you want. Cars, debt, real estate. I got a video for everything. Vacations. That video I started playing earlier today was all about vacations, like how to get the money back for the vacations you're going to take. Like whatever that is, you just type that in and there's a video. You could join us each week for Wealth Webinar. I didn't ask today how many of you were brand new here, but I have to assume out of 127 people, there was a bunch of brand new people. But I went full gamut, so I didn't need to ask because I knew we were going to have a mix. So some of them just need those things. But again, the most important thing, and I started with this and I'm going to finish with this, is you came here to learn something new. You came here to solve a problem or find a path to solve a problem. So now if this path or even anything we talked about remotely seems of interest and you think it might be valuable, what's your next step? What action are you going to take? What application are you going to do in your life to change the situation you're in, to better the situation that you're currently in? And I don't care where you're at. You could be at the very bottom, you could be at the very top. Let's get you to the next level. We have the capacity to do that, and we want to do that. Somebody had said it earlier. We're spiritual beings acting, I can't remember what that was, but it was beautiful. We're spiritual beings, helping people in human ways or something to that extent. It was really, really nice the way they said. And Dr. Antoinette said, do you all work with insurance agents who want to use BYOB as a product? I believe the answer is yes. I'm not fully understanding that. But Steve, what other questions were there that maybe we could go back now in the final couple of minutes?
I don't
Frank
know,
was
throw them
asking
out. If
about the
anybody has
ball.
anything, we can definitely answer them for you guys.
So I think the answer for Dr. Antoinette, if you're still here, is we are the agents. We're fully licensed in every single state. I did find out today that my agency's not licensed in Alaska, but I am. So there's not a state that we're not licensed in, including Puerto Rico. Let's see.
Andrew was saying, what circumstances would you fund a bridge loan in second position?
To each their own. I would do a lot more due diligence. I don't like second position. I'd want to know who's in first position. I would definitely want to see a title search. I'm not a second main kind of guy. I'm just not. It doesn't mean you're not, but you'd have to pay me a lot of money and you'd have to personally guarantee the deal. And I'd have to see your personal financial statement to make sure you actually have assets. And I might even ask for cross collateralization. And when I ask for all those things, the person who's looking to raise money in a second position is probably going to just say, that Chris guy, I don't think we want to deal with him. And that's okay too. That's just not my flavor, right? Some people like vanilla, some people like chocolate, some people like mint tingling. Whatever your flavor is, pick. But don't change your desires and your preferences to appease somebody else. Do not conform. Even in private lending, do not conform. If a borrower tries talking you out of it and it's outside of your comfort zone, do not conform to what the borrower is telling you. Stick to your guns. Your numbers are your numbers. Your rules are your rules. Thou with the gold makes the rules. Set the rules.
I like it. I mean, it's one of those things, if there's an investor you work with regularly and you've been working with them for years and you trust them and you guys are doing deals and they have something that requires maybe a bridge loan in a second. I mean, something like that to me could make sense. But yeah, I just want to really make sure what's going on with that
I want to
deal.
hit on Susan's. This is important. Susan, if you're still with us, Susan Cheney. Um, we get this a lot. So, people that are older, seniors, and they're like, hey, I really want to do this. I have grandkids that I'd love to help out, or maybe kids that I want to help out. Could that be the case? Well, let me just use an example of banks. Banks are entities, and banks use their vice presidents as the insured to take out policies, and they do, and that's called BOLI. There's over $200 billion in bank funds in BOLI policies, which are basically bank-owned life insurance. So there's always an insured person. So Susan, for you, with your grandkids, there's some rules, and we know these rules very well, and it's kind of a slippery slope in some ways. But Susan, you could basically work with your children to insure their grandchildren. That would be an easy way to do it. And then once the policy is issued, we could change you back to be the owner, because going from a grandma to the grandkid, that's going to be tough. You being the owner of a grandkid's policy, I don't know if they're going to allow that. But let's just say your children were the owner of the grandchild's policy. That's easy. And then after the policy is issued, what could happen is you could change ownership if you don't trust your kids to be good stewards, but you are. You could change ownership back up to yourself. There's another way to do it. You could set up like a living trust. Your living trust could own the policy, and the beneficiaries could be the grandkids, and the grandkids could be the insured on the policy. Or sorry, saying that wrong. Your kids could be the insured on the policies. So you're funding, and I think that would be the best play. Your trust is owning policies on your children who are grown children who have grandkids. Then the trust beneficiary are the grandkids. So now you've solved more than one problem. Now that might be a bit advanced, but this is stuff that we can help you with, because the trust gives you a set of rules from afterlife, I guess is the way to say it, from heaven. Your rules have to be carried out in the trust. So that's another way to do it. So there's all sorts of really cool things, but don't rule out that you can't do this because you're too old, because you're uninsurable, whatever that is. There's a path, and it's our job to help you articulate that path and find the cleanest way to do what it is you want. So I would say, getting on a call is not a waste of time. Wendy said, when speaking about my policy, we started at 40 and we are getting this from a pension payout. What could we do with that? 30,000 left over. Wow. That's a great question, seeing as though by chance, we literally just kind of looked at a deal that was $30,000. That's a great thing. I'm not saying that, I'm not endorsing that deal. I don't know, Matt. You have to do your own due diligence, but I think if you don't know how to do the due diligence or the underwriting and that makes you nervous, why not hire an underwriter? Stephen, in the partners page, we have an underwriter in there, do we not?
Correct.
Yeah, so you could go on the partners page within Private Money Club. It's going to cost you a couple of bucks, but you could go to Matt and say, hey, Matt, would you be okay? I need to underwrite this deal and I'm new to this. I want to lend this money. I have 30,000 to lend right now, but I need to feel comfortable with the deal. Would you be okay if I underwrite the deal with a third party, and would you pay for it? Now, he may not, but even if you pay for it, is that might be money well spent. Maybe it costs you a couple $100 to have a professional underwriter underwrite the deal and do all the work that maybe you don't know how to do. Maybe you know how to do it. So that's just an option, Wendy. I don't know enough about your scenario, but it sounds like you're getting a policy started. So maybe jump on the call with your mentor who you spoke to and go an extra step. Talk about that 30,000. Another thing you could do with that, Wendy, is that if that's coming from a pension payout, you could roll that into a fixed guaranteed account. Fixed guaranteed account, this is crazy right now, and I don't want to be wrong about this, but right now you can get guaranteed from the insurance companies 5 to 6%. Guaranteed. And we can lock that in for like 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, so that you're getting that same interest rate. Because we know interest rates are going to go down. This will be probably the last of the high interest rates you're able to get. So you could, let's say, Wendy, you like the IBC stuff because it's guaranteed. And you're like, I just want guarantees. Great. 5 to 6% guaranteed, tax deferred. Sign me up, right? So we can help you with that as well. And that would be our annuity division. We only do one kind of annuity. We're kind of boring. We do fixed guaranteed annuities. We don't monkey with any of that indexed nonsense. We definitely don't do any of that crappy variable bullshit. We do fixed annuities, guaranteed fixed annuities. They're about as boring gets, but they are freaking guaranteed. And that's all you need to know. So those are a couple of things.
Ooh, now you're talking.
Yeah, mix it up a little bit. What else we got? Trust idea. Yeah, David Stewart. Absolutely. You're 71. That trust idea is great. And you know, a living trust is super easy to set up. The hard part about a living trust is just the language, but you just have to sit back and think about it. We have a really good guide, a legacy builder guide. It was done by Garrett Gunderson. It kind of gives you your family constitution and some direction on writing the language inside your trust. You don't want to pay an attorney to do that. They cost too much. But if you wanted to set the trust up, we could give you a resource on a company that sets them up that we've worked with. Dr. Antoinette said, I'm a licensed agent and was with an agency that sold the Rockefeller waterfall method as the main product. I have left that agency. I'm looking for oh my gosh, doctor, I'm totally sorry. I went right over that. So yeah, you know, the guy you need to speak to is right here, Mr. Steven. You want to give Dr. Antoinette your contact information?
I did. I put the link there. Just fill that link out and I'll be in touch.
Great. But yeah, no, we're always looking for new mentors to help us solve more people's problems.
The right mentors, we'll say that.
Yeah, I want to be clear about that. We don't just put any mentor on. We have a pretty stringent process. But if you are already working with somebody doing the waterfall method, then I think you're already on the right step. Jennifer said I had a call in the fall with Carson. I just scheduled a second call because I converted my mortgage bubble first lien HELOC, velocity banking. Now I'm ready. I love that. And Jennifer, that's a really good example for many people because, like, look at that. That was a year, right? I think you said about a year in the fall. Not quite, but you know, half a year. You know, so it just takes time sometimes to get yourself ready, and there's nothing wrong with that because now look, you're on your way. But now you've got all those things in place to make it so that now when your private banking system gets set up, you're in the right place, the right mindset. All the things are ready to go and push play. So congratulations on that. And I love it. A bunch of other people are giving you shout outs. See, that's that human empathy, right? Yeah, AI wouldn't be like, oh, congratulations. You know, AI would, unless it's prompted to do that, it wouldn't. You didn't have to prompt anybody for that one. Let's see, referral contact information for, if you want to put, do you want to put corporate capital's information up for the revocable or irrevocable trusts?
The best way to do that is connect through our Private Money Club success team and they can go over options.
Okay. So whoever that was asking about the living trust or setting up the living trust, just call that number and I'll put it up again right now.
Actually, Sonia, just email me.
Yeah, just email Steven.
That's going to be the easiest. I'll connect you with the right person directly so you don't have to schedule and all that.
Who do you recommend living trusts? Who do you recommend? Everybody, very few people should not have a living trust. I mean, because it bypasses probate. I guess anybody that doesn't have assets worth over 50 grand, you probably don't need a living trust. But if you have any kind of assets over 50 grand, a living trust is very important. Check with your state. Every state's a little different on the probate rules, but definitely recommend having a living trust. And email Steven if you're interested in setting one up and we can give you over to the person that does ours. Robert, we got your number there. So what we'll do is we'll shoot you a text and set up a time. Sorry, I'm reading the top one. Someone refer you to trust attorney. Yes, absolutely, in Florida. So we'll get you the proper place. It doesn't have to be somebody in Florida unless you want somebody in Florida. But we have one company that does the trust for us. We trust them. We've been working with them for 5 years. We've never had a negative review. So we're pretty competent, or we're pretty comfortable with their competence to do that. Brad, no problem. Just sent the info for the contact. We love that.
Sonia, what's your phone number? Send me your phone number, Sonia, and we'll call you on that today too.
Oh, yep. The annuity stuff. We can have Brian Fouts or Tess Hulick call you.
Yeah, Brian will call.
Okay. Love it. You got that?
Yep.
All right, folks.
There he is.
Love it. See, he's never far away. He's right there. All
And
right. Well, with that being said, folks, I know we went long. Thank you so very much for spending this extra time with us at the end here to answer these questions. That's what we're here for, just trying to solve problems. And we look forward to talking to a bunch of you, helping you solve your problems and get you on your journey. And for the rest of you, great. Just join us next week. Join us tomorrow on our Quick Start webinar. We do a webinar 6 times during the week. The only day we don't do webinars is Friday. And if you want something on Fridays, well, we always have a new video posting on my YouTube at the Chris Naugle. So with all that being said, thank you, thank you, thank you. Stephen, thanks for your time and energy today. And we will talk to all of you very soon.